This is going to get compared a lot to the Spider-Verse films.
Absolutely.
And that is a tough standard
you
to
can't
bear.
do that in TV. We got our first look at Batman.
Yes.
In this...
Truly a look. I'm concerned about this need for everything to be canon. But I think as often as it helps, it often hinders. I'm a little worried that James Gunn is already digging himself a little bit of a hole.
Welcome back to the Breakroom. It's 2025, and we are kicking off the new year with some headlines. Let's run the graphic.
Yeah, look at that.
Boom.
It's
right off the bat.
It's going to be a catch-up headline.
That's right. It's a catch-up headlines, so get out your steak if you want to enjoy Patrick Mahomes style.
Get out your mustard.
All that kind of stuff. We missed a lot of news over the break. There's like Spider-Man news, more Spider-Man news, a third piece of Spider-Man news
DC
that we're going to talk about.
DC casting.
Bunch of fun DC stuff that we're going to get into. And then at the end of this episode, Zach is challenging me to a game of 2025 movie something. I don't know. He won't tell me.
You got to stick around and watch.
So you got to stick around. I got to stick around. Right. We'll find out together. Incredible. Oh, by the way, I'm John Costa.
Yeah.
Joining me today, my lovely coworker, Zach Huddleston.
Thrilled to be back, guys. I've been gone for a minute, and I missed it. I was watching from afar, sometimes in the chat, deleting most of your comments. No, kidding.
Yeah, they're all gone.
But I'm so excited to be back here on the Breakroom set.
We're back. Well, so I think the biggest thing that happened over the break, apart from some shows releasing, things like that, was we finally got a trailer for Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man.
We've been waiting on. It's coming out at the end of this month, January 29th, I believe the first episode is dropping.
That's right.
And there's been preciously few
not a ton of
things released about this show.
Not a ton of
especially
details.
if you have not been attending in-person Disney events.
I guess that's true. If you went to Comic-Con, you went to D23, and you went to D23 Brazil or whatever, you probably have
saw
seen
some
all
footage.
this.
But I think this is the first publicly released footage from the show.
That's my understanding, and we have it. Let's. Some of you, I'm sure, have already watched this. We've watched it too, but we might as well play it, refresh all of our memories. So let's take a look. Very fun trailer. So we're going to talk about a few things. I do want to. Zach and I make up a lot of the merch team here at New Rockstars. I do think I need to shout out the fact that, hey, similar to last year, you guys really loved our kind of Xavier Institute teas that we put out. Those were really popular. And we sort of released that in conjunction with X-Men 97 and our X-Men Rewatch series. This year, we've got some really cool Midtown High merch.
Yeah.
So if you want to check that out, we've got some hoodies, we've got mugs, we've got t-shirts, of course, and they're kind of like branded as if you were maybe like a student at Midtown or you have a kid that goes to Midtown or whatever. So they're so new that we don't even have them here. But check out nerdriot.shop, Midtown High merch. Ooh, and we also have some Neil merch.
Got those Neil.
That's a preview for when we talk about that in a little while.
Very popular right now.
But let's talk about this trailer. I thought it was really fun. I think, one of the things that was interesting to me was like you could tell that the action direction was done. I thought really well.
Yes.
Maybe some of the animation to like match the direction doesn't quite line up. There's some poses of Spider-Man that look a little weird here and there.
I think for some reason, every time I watch the trailer, it kind of hits me a little bit more. Yeah. This show could benefit and or be hurt by animated Spider-Man, young high school age, hip hop soundtrack.
Hell yeah.
Fun comic book panel editing style. This is going to get compared a lot to the Spider-Verse films.
Absolutely.
And that is a tough standard
you
to
can't
bear.
Do that in TV.
Some of the best animated films in general of the last 10 years. But I think it's rich territory. It's also, and we got a tiny bit of this in Ms. Marvel, but that had so much other stuff to do. I love the idea of just spending time with him as a high schooler, right? This is not a feature-length film where you have to go on an amazing adventure in like 2 hours and 10 minutes. Like you could spend 8 episodes dealing with the like girlfriend, boyfriend, studying for the exam. How do I balance being a hero and a normal kid? Like you can really kind of live that life, which even the Spider-Verse films don't get to do. So I'm really excited to get to explore that in this show.
Yeah, it's very originally the show was sort of pitched as like Peter Parker in the MCU's first year as a hero, origin story, all that kind of stuff. That has completely changed now. Brad Winderbaum gave an interview, who's sort of like the head of Marvel Television the other day, saying like, not canon, not MCU, not 616, all that kind of stuff. But I think that's a good decision.
Yes.
Because they would be so limited in the scope of storytelling that they can do, right? Like in No Way Home, we found out that there's not really an Oscorp in the 616. Obviously now we have Norman Osborn in this show. We maybe wouldn't have been able to do that if they had said like, this is a canon show. So that's exciting. It opens up a lot of doors. They must have like started in a place and felt kind of restricted and then said like, hey, we want to tell a better story than what we feel like we're able to tell. So I think that it's going to be interesting to watch the show because there will be little remnants of that, right? Charlie Cox, Vincent D'Onofrio both coming back to reprise their respective roles in this show, even though they're not the same 616 Daredevil and Kingpin. Yes. There's the shot that Eric pointed out. Actually, it's going to be on Sneak Peek on Sunday. That is Peter stopping a car or something like that and saving kid's life. And that was like the video that Tony Stark shows him when he's like, hey, I know you're Spider-Man or whatever. So there's still going to be little nuggets of what that show was. And I think it'll be fun to kind of identify what all those little pieces are.
I think we're going to come back to this in a little bit because like there's some parallels here to a current DC animated show that is canon.
Yeah.
And the ways that impacts the storytelling and what they can and cannot include in that show. And I'm interested to see how it plays out in both of those shows long term. Also, Charlie Cox, Vincent D'Onofrio are on the I'm available all-stars list, okay? Marvel needs them to do anything. Those guys
do
are
we
game.
Still have the Thirsty Thespians graphic anywhere?
They are.
I'm sure we don't.
And I'm here for it. I love it. Those guys are like, literally anything Kingpin or Daredevil you need me to do, I'm here for it.
Yeah. Hey,
love it.
And we're here for it as well. Yeah, so we said there was a lot more Spider-Man news to talk about, and there is. This one is tiring to me. I'll be honest with you. Andrew Garfield recently did an interview saying he was not going to be in Spider-Man 4. And we're talking about the Tom Holland MCU, home branded Spider-Man 4.
He went on to say, but I know none of you will believe me. Because, of course, he famously denied his participation in No Way Home.
Denied for forever. And obviously, like, he had to do that, right? And now he's in a spot where he's going to now deny things, and it's going to be either truthful or not. People are going to believe him one way or another. I think that they would be wrong to do it again.
Yes.
They can't do the same thing twice. Maybe you do Secret Wars, and that's fun. Because
that's true. He's not denying that he'll ever play Spider-Man again. Right. He's just denying that he will be in this film that's going to shoot soon. And, yeah.
What do you think? I imagine like we had our fun, and now let's tell another story.
In hindsight, right? No Way Home was No Way Home the last great multiverse story?
I think Across the Spider-Verse counts.
Sure, fair, yes, but like those two, right? Like. Flash, didn't love it. Some of the other storytelling that's every different shared universe has been beating that drum. I guess in Deadpool and Wolverine found its own way to be kind of multiversal. But they don't. You're absolutely right. They've already did it. They did it really, really well.
Yeah,
it won't hit as good doing it a second time. So you have to find something new. I'll also say the fact that the script for Spider-Man 4 was just recently kind of completed. Right, Tom Holland talking about reading it and bouncing off the walls with Zendaya or whatever. Makes you believe this wasn't like it wasn't immediately pushed out in a fever dream post No Way Home where it's like let's run it back. No, they had time to process, to move forward. So I completely believe it.
Yeah, and we've talked on the show about a bunch of different directions that these movies can take. Rumors that we've heard online. I also think like we did the same stuff for Christopher Nolan a couple of weeks ago where, it was a rumor that it was going to be like a helicopter fighting movie. It was a rumor that it's going to be vampires. Okay, no, it's the Odyssey, right? And so there's all these rumors about what the Spider-Man movie is going to be. It's possible that it's just something completely different that we don't have our finger on.
Yeah, it's mostly a non-alcoholic beer ad.
It's possible. Okay, that was a lot of Spider-Man stuff. We had talked earlier, we're going to cover some DC news, but before we get into that, we want to talk about some merch stuff.
Yes.
Because it's a new year, we got new merch, it's all very exciting. If you're loving Skeleton Crew, we just kind of previewed some of the great Neil design.
Including
that we're putting
our
up.
first ever tie-dye
That can't
shirt.
be true.
I don't think we've ever done a tie-dye.
That can't be true. I've got a Horseboy shirt that's tie-dye.
Oh, okay, fair. Well, we don't do them
very often, and this one is uniquely cool because it kind of looks spacey and all that kind of stuff. So check that out. If you love Skeleton Crew, big shout out to Neil.
We also have there's a shirt. I don't think we have a graphic for this, but Eric has worn it. I think on the Breakroom before the
Awesome.
Punisher Daredevil face-off shirt. It's like this one, but half of a Daredevil face and half of a Punisher face.
And if you want to check it out, since we don't have a graphic for it, go to nerdriot.shop. Right. You can see can see it. There we go. So getting into DC, Creature Commandos just sort of wrapped its run, and we got a couple of interesting new details about kind of the future of what this universe is going to look like. We got our first look at Batman.
Yes.
In this...
Truly a look.
Yeah. And you know what's interesting? James Gunn actually said on Twitter, I think it was on Twitter, they increased, if you can bring that up again, they increased the amount of silhouette-ness that they have for the shot.
I watched the clip of him saying this, and what I think he meant was he wanted it more of a silhouette and less of a detailed image.
Because they said they haven't quite nailed the design.
He joked, he's like, I'm not ready to commit to this, I'm not ready to commit to that, I'm not ready to commit to that. Which is kind of wild. I mean, what Batman looks like is pretty well established and is pretty consistent.
I agree, but if you, even looking at Battinson versus Batfleck versus Christian Bale's Batman, they are a little different.
Do you have a cowl? Do you have, what is the specific outline? There are tiny details. And part of the reason that this matters is, James Gunn says, that is the DCU Batman.
And I kind of like that.
That is the same guy who will be in live action, presumably the same look, which is a strange thing to commit to this early. We're not going to get, we know that, and now this is not to be confused with the Robert Pattinson, Matt Reeves Batman. That is going to be a separate universe. James Gunn's going to have his own Batman, presumably will not show up till The Brave and the Bold. Which is maybe a 2027 release?
Yeah, I mean, there was an interview maybe a couple months ago that had kind of gotten delayed a little bit because the script wasn't quite there. There's no Batman cast yet for that movie, so they still have a lot of work to do yet.
Harris Dickinson, get out there.
Oh. Start fighting people in grocery stores.
Ooh, and then start the fight or end the fight.
Yeah, you gotta start it to end it.
Or Austin Butler, hey mama, ooh, my mama got killed outside the movie theater.
I don't know if a cowl would fit over his big ass head.
Oh, it's a long head.
Maybe it's just because I was watching Dune Part 2, and that's probably a
bulbous.
ball cap.
But that's because he had hair.
Yeah,
it was a ball cap because he couldn't cut his hair because of the bike riders. So they had to do skull cap on it.
We also got some other. We did get some casting news over the break. We had known about this for a long time, rumored at least. I think Jason Momoa a couple years ago posted something on social media that was like, "I just got out of a meeting with James Gunn and it was great." So we were all sort of, and we had known that he wanted to be Lobo for a very long time. Sort of like this intergalactic bike rider,
bounty hunter
with long hair, who's sort of
looks like Jason. It looks like a white face painted Jason Momoa, kind of. But yeah, that was confirmed, and he will be appearing in the Supergirl film.
That's right.
Which will be the next DC film, I believe, after Superman.
Almost a year to the date following Superman.
Yeah, so presumably going into production pretty soon.
Got to be soon.
That's probably why that came out. The Millie Aycock will be playing Supergirl in that film.
Yeah, and some internet sleuths have looked at the Superman trailer and sort of, there's a shot of the Fortress of Solitude and sort of looking at the reflection of, gosh, that robot character's name, it's not coming to me. And thinking that they're seeing a little reflection of Millie Alcock.
Like she's off screen?
She's somewhere over there and checking out. So maybe she'll be in that movie too. We don't have confirmation of that. But they did say that this is not the main villain of Supergirl. I don't know if that has been announced yet, but that's
Yes, and I think that was stated, and the story they're adapting from the comics for the Supergirl film is kind of I do love that it's it's basically True Grit with Supergirl playing Rooster Cogburn.
love that.
So it's like Supergirl and this like alien girl, they're both on like a quest for revenge. It takes them all across. It's an intergalactic story, shades of Guardians of the Galaxy, where they're bouncing around different worlds and things like that, with Supergirl helping this young girl get revenge. They encounter a lot of different characters. Presumably, one of the characters they will encounter is Lobo.
Yeah.
He's not like the main villain or even like the sidekick or anything like that of this movie. Probably, maybe gets 5 good fun scenes or something like that.
And we'll see how that works, right? Like, there's the big rumor for Superman is that the first 15 minutes of that movie is kind of going to be Superman facing a bunch of classic Superman villains, which is sort of similar to what people are saying about the Fantastic Four. So we'll see how those two movies come out within a couple weeks of each other. But maybe that becomes a little bit of a blueprint for some of these DC movies who, have kind of stated that they're not really interested in doing origin stories.
Yes.
Superman is not going to be an origin story. Bold and the Brave also not going to be an origin story.
Yes.
So maybe they want to include some of these origin moments of hey, I'm getting my footing here as a new hero.
Or even think about it as an introduction rather than an origin. Right?
Yeah, that's a great
these
point.
characters already exist in this world. We're showing you them for the first time, but they've been out there doing their thing for a while.
Right. And you use some of these tertiary villains to illustrate that.
Yeah.
I think that would be fun. One other thing that happened over the break is Nosferatu came out. Zach hasn't had a chance to see it yet.
Tonight.
We've been busy.
Seeing it tonight. Don't spoil it in the chat.
But Dashiell has seen it. I don't know if Brian has seen it. Very fun movie, which is a weird thing to say about a vampire flick, but I thought it was very fun. And the director, Robert Eggers, said that there's going to be an extended cut of the film on the physical release edition of this movie, which I believe is coming out very soon.
Yeah, I think mid-month.
And hey, stay tuned to the new Rockstars channel this month, because we're going to have a little
some coverage of the old Nosferatu.
If you love that,
real quick film geek side quest here. Robert Eggers.
Yeah.
I believe this is his 4th feature film.
Sounds right to me.
John, what would be your rankings? The Witch, between, and this is in order of release, The Witch, The Lighthouse, The Northman, and Nosferatu. What's your ranking of those films?
Okay, I put The Witch at the top. I think, this is, a lot of filmmakers will say sort of like that first film, if it's really successful, well, I've been thinking about this movie for 10 years or whatever. So I think that that's a little bit of the case with The Witch, maybe for Eggers here. I love that film. That's at the top. I think I would put Nosferatu second.
Ooh.
It's really tight between The Lighthouse and Nosferatu. I didn't initially love The Lighthouse when I saw it for the first time because I was very hungover and grumpy and angry. And
as is that
I went
movie.
into the movie theater and I was just like, there's a lot of like, it was farting or burping or whatever. And I was just like, ugh. And then I watched it again and I was sort of like more into the movie and I saw kind of what they were trying to do and I enjoyed it more. The Northman, I thought was just kind of forgettable.
Yeah, I don't think it really worked. I really appreciated
beautiful and absolutely
a bunch of the stuff he was going
very
for.
well made.
I don't think it came together, though. Again, I'll watch a bad Robert Eggers movie
Over
10 days out of 10,
anything.
baby.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm excited to see where Nosferatu falls. In
Where
my
are
rankings.
you? I'm assuming if I pull Nosferatu out, that's probably your ranking as well.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I think so. Yeah, I really love The Witch as well. I mean, I've enjoyed them all. Where do you stand? If you had to go, Ari Aster or Robert Eggers?
Ooh, that's a difficult decision.
They're kind of the twin flames of indie film in the last 10 years.
I hold Midsommar with in such regard. I love that movie so much. I think it's really, really difficult to make a horror movie that scares you that is in the middle of the day.
Daylight, yeah.
I think that they did a really good job. Hereditary
hits like
is
a
fantastic.
truck. Still, yeah.
I know people are like, Beau is Afraid is PU. I really enjoyed a lot of that movie. I agree, kind of crazy at times. Maybe sometimes it doesn't work, but there's a lot of interesting things, I think, in that movie. I think I would take Ari Aster over Eggers. But,
okay, I'd rather go the other way, but that's fair. I love them both. Okay.
That's fair.
Yeah, so we already talked Creature Commandos revealed Batman.
We did.
What do you? Again, it's hard to
Sorry,
judge.
we're jumping around on the script a little bit. That's my fault.
No. I'm concerned about this need for everything to be canon. That's all I'm going to say. I appreciate. We've been talking off screen about What If season 3 a little bit. I'll save my full thoughts for Monday. Tune back into the break room. But I think, obviously the MCU has benefited a lot from all these films and shows being interconnected, right? And it has the ability to add to storytelling when you're invested in these characters over the course of many films and many shows, all this kind of stuff. But I think as often as it helps in this kind of late stage superhero capitalism, it often hinders. I'm a little worried that James Gunn is already digging himself a little bit of a hole to get out of, that everything has to be canon. I'm worried.
It'll be very interesting to see how, because if you look at Marvel, phase 1, the interconnectedness stuff obviously was there a little bit with the new series, but the stories were all independent until you get to the Avengers, really, or some post-credit stuff or whatever. And then they did a very, very, very successful job of taking the interconnectedness and moving toward Endgame. Yeah. But even in Infinity War or in other films leading up to Infinity War, you have all this kind of like, the ether is, like they were retconning a bunch of Infinity Stones into things that we had already seen before. So now James Gunn comes in and says, okay, we're going to do a connected universe thing. I've got phase 1 planned, right? This gods and monsters thing that they've been talking about. It'll be very interesting to see how they pull it off with that approach in mind.
From the jump, which Marvel didn't do.
From the jump.
Yeah.
Because I think that the DCEU was sort of trying to do that, right?
Sure.
Like the Superman sequel, it was like it doesn't even have Superman as the first person in the title. Batman v Superman.
Technically, V comes before Superman.
Yeah,
he's the third name in the title.
I think they tried to do that with the DCEU, and it just didn't work out because they moved too fast. Right? You go from like Wonder Woman has an origin movie. Superman has an origin movie. We don't get that for Batman. We got it later for Aquaman. We got it way later for The Flash. So, like, we didn't have time to spend with these characters before they all teamed up. They were kind of just, like, around in the world, and they kind of brought them together in Batman v Superman and then Justice League. So I hope that they kind of take a step back approach, which seems like they are doing. It's not like they have a Justice League movie announced yet. So I think it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
I agree. We just talked at length about like, we're excited that Spider-Man, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man is not canon because it opens up all these storytelling possibilities. So,
and just as somebody who loved the hell out of X-Men 97, we know that's not canon, right? Like, I think part of that is because it allows the storytellers of that particular story to serve that story and not have to worry about things that exist outside of that story. We've heard stories from people that work at Marvel, right, where it's like, they've got, okay, great, we're going to use this character for this story. And somebody comes in and they're like, no, you're not.
Yes.
We need them for something else. And it's like, oh, great, they would have been perfect for my thing, but now I have to adjust. And who knows, how that trickles down to the end product in lots of ways. But whatever, fingers crossed, James Gunn knows what he's doing. It'll all work out great. Everything will be excellent.
Well, and this is not a particularly new take either, but you take someone like James Gunn and you put them next to someone like Kevin Feige. And they are, in terms of what they do and what their experience is, very different. Being a producer for these movies is not an eye on every detail responsibility, whereas being a director on these films is an eye on every detail responsibility. And so how does James Gunn do a movie like Superman, where it's requiring almost all of your attention and also, making sure that new cuts of Creature Commandos look good, even though those had already been written, or
working on movies
scripts
that aren't going to come out for 5 years.
Absolutely,
yeah.
And he's talking about, I'm not ready to commit to this design of the Batman yet, and like this works for the show. It's like a shot in an animated show, so it's like not the end of the world. But like maybe if he wasn't directing Superman, he would have all these character designs ready to go and all that kind of stuff.
I think it's a fact.
It'll be very interesting to see how this
we
plays
won't
out.
know for years how it's going to play out. I mean, we'll learn a lot in July.
We'll learn a lot in July.
Out,
and I'm very excited for that movie. I am not in the camp of the weirdos who...
Put a pin in that. Put a pin in being excited about movies, John, when we play our little game coming up.
Speaking of things that I'm very excited about, not a 2025 movie, unfortunately, but the Batman Part 2, the Matt Reeves, Robert Pattinson Batman universe film. It just recently kind of got pushed a little bit.
2026 now.
2026, definitely not coming out this year.
Or no, sorry, is it 2027?
27.
Sorry, it was pushed from 26 to 27. Yeah.
One of the rumors that we'd heard before, but like whenever a rumor kind of comes back up after a few months, it's almost a little bit of like, oh, maybe there's more to that because it's still around and no one's like, oh yeah, we're not doing that anymore. But we're hearing that maybe it got delayed because they want to shoot this in the winter time because Mr. Freeze is going to be a key villain in this film.
Ooh.
Which, hey.
I am excited to see what a Matt Reeves version of Mr. Freeze will look like.
Very grounded.
Much like the Paul Dano Riddler was not, wearing question mark onesies.
Right. Maybe when he went to sleep, but we didn't see any of those scenes.
Right. So it'll be interesting what a more grounded Mr. Freeze, presumably not silver skinned, wearing a fish tank over his head. Also, who's your casting?
Oh, let's see. What Austrian actors are young right now? That's not a requirement.
What about now? He's not. I don't know that he has the acting chops that would attract Matt Reeves, but I'm just thinking of famously smooth-headed men, not smooth-brained, smooth. What about a Jason Statham? Does that bring a certain kind of energy? That might not be the gravitas that they want.
Yeah, I think you're right. Right? It seems like Reeves is going after actor, real actor.
Colin Farrell, Jeffrey Wright, even Robert Pattinson. He wants Oscar caliber folks in his roles, and maybe less.
I mean, we've seen Austin Butler bald. I know that people are starting to get oversaturated with some of these actors, and that's why they come top of mind to people like us when we're trying to do fan casting stuff.
There's a certain grouping of hot young actors. So it's names that are gonna, people will talk about Paul Mescal, Jeremy Allen White, an Austin Butler, a Harris Dickinson, right? The same half dozen names will get thrown out, and who knows? Even what about Daniel Craig?
I could do Craig.
I
think I have not seen Queer yet, but the range that he's showing in that movie from trailers looks incredible.
Well, so we haven't seen it a lot, but he has a sinister edge.
Absolutely.
When he wants to play it, he could be a little scary, a little intimidating, even if we've spent most of our time with him as a good guy. Somebody like
Was
that.
he in Hard Candy? Was that him?
Ooh. Oh, Layer Cake.
Layer Cake. I am, yes.
He might also be in Hard Candy. I haven't seen that film.
Speaking of our buddy Robert Pattinson, who none of us have met, we have a couple of release date swaps, which are interesting. Mickey 17, which is the new Bong Joon-ho film, is swapping dates with Sinners.
The Michael B. Jordan's.
Michael B. Jordan
now, is it
twins vampire thing.
When it's plural Michael B. Jordan, is it Michael's B. Jordan?
That's
or is it
Michael
B. Jordan?
Michael B's Jordan.
When there's two of them. Those movies flipped. And it was because, I guess, post-production on Sinners taking a little bit longer.
Every shot, I'm sure, has to be a visual effect, which is maybe the same for Mickey 17.
Yeah.
But
well, Mickey 17's already been pushed back quite a bit. So presumably, I think it was originally going to come out early 2024. So it's already been pushed a year. So presumably it's more done.
And as people who are interested in movies and that kind of thing, I do always find it interesting where they're landing these films. March 7th is maybe becoming an Oscar window for some films. That's Dune Part 2 is kind of in that window. But then also equally interesting, the summer season for movies keeps getting pushed back and back and back. And April 18th is now a summer movie. I think Avengers Endgame was released in April, maybe later in the month, but April is now the summer, which I think is really weird.
Yeah. And who knows? So much of this, they're doing weird 3D chess with this stuff. And they're also trying to avoid other big movies and not have 3 similar movies come out in the same week or something.
And that's why you see untitled Marvel event film coming in 2029 is because all the studios want to
clear
at
out.
least know okay, maybe this turns into The Lion King 3, but we want this date on the calendar reserved for us so no one else touches it.
Yep. Some other release news came out.
Absolutely. I didn't realize this was so close. When Squid Game season 2, or when Squid Game got a sequel, they greenlit 2 seasons. So obviously Squid Game came out a couple of weeks ago, season 2. Season 3 was slated to come out this year. And then I believe the Korean TikTok account, maybe by mistake, accidentally published that season 3 is coming in June, which is very short.
Soon.
June 27th is the rumored release date. So we'll see about that. And then, of course, Stranger Things is coming out this year at some point. We don't really know when, although maybe I'm misremembering things. We've been off for a couple of weeks. I thought that they had just announced a new cast member or had just finished, had a wrap party or something like that.
There were some posts about the end of filming that maybe was late last year, October.
So I'm concerned that that's a December release date. Should we pause?
Possibly. There's been a lot of summer releases. There's a siren going by. They're coming to get John for his bad takes.
Because I took all of Brandon's organs away. What part of the show did we talk about that?
Maybe not in the YouTube part. That's why you got to watch on Twitch, folks.
And then lastly, I think we knew this already, but it officially announced Wednesday is also going to have a season 2 coming out in 2025.
Of course. Yes.
So that's the headlines.
Speaking of 2025, John.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to play a couple games here. There has been Breakroom content about things people are most excited about for next year. Yeah. Whatever. We have not been a part of that content.
No, just Gina and Brandon. Don't know why we couldn't have been included.
So I just want to get into some stuff about 2025. And we're going to do some different formats here. There's a format called a blind ranking.
Yeah.
Okay. I have 10 2025 movies in front of me. You don't know which ones I have. There's obviously a lot more than 10 movies coming out this year. I'm going to read them in a random order. You have to assign them a number, 1 through 10, as far as what you're most excited to see. But you don't know what else I'm going to be saying. So if you say something's number 1, but then a movie comes after that you like more, you're screwed, okay? And then I will also reveal my not blind rankings. Of course, I picked out these films, so I know what it is. But so I'm just going to start off 1 through 10, 1 being best, 10 being least excited, okay? We'll start here with the aforementioned Sinners. Michael B. Jordan twin movie from Ryan Coogler.
Ryan Coogler just doesn't miss.
That's right.
He just doesn't miss. And even Wakanda Forever, I think he just that was a pain in the ass movie to make because of circumstances. I'll say that that's going to be my 4th.
4. Oh, yeah. Strong. Okay.
Oh yeah. It's going to be good.
Yeah.
I think.
Trailer looked great.
Yeah.
Second movie, Captain America: Brave New World.
Okay. This is really interesting. I don't quite understand what this movie is right now.
Okay.
I think the marketing has been a little weird and not very plot focused. Obviously, there's the Tiamat stuff, and I just don't know where it is. And I'm a director's person, and the director of this, had done the Cloverfield Paradox, which is a terrible film. I'm so sorry. So I'm putting this pretty low. I'm going to put this at 9. I don't know what movies are coming up.
Yep, that's right. He doesn't know.
I'm imagining they're all going to be
nothing but bangers after this.
Well,
speaking of bangers, Jurassic World Rebirth. A reboot of the franchise.
But someone interesting is Gareth Edwards. I think is doing this film. And it's got a great cast.
I think that's right. David Koepp, who wrote the original, is back to write.
Folks who don't know, Jurassic Park is maybe my favorite movie of all time.
Okay.
And I liked Jurassic World. The other ones were bad.
Yeah.
I will put this at 6.
6? Oh, well, tempering his favorite movie of all time franchise. Fair. Okay, let's get into some interesting stuff. Superman.
Am I more excited for Superman than I am for Sinners? I think I am.
Okay. Well, you only got 3 spots ahead of Sinners.
3.
Okay, 3.
Because I'm more excited for the Fantastic Four. I don't know if that's on your list. And then I want to leave another kind of...
you got to leave some room up there. Okay, well, it is on my list. The very next one, Fantastic Four.
I think that's my most anticipated movie of next year.
Agreed. We are aligned on that. That was also my
Wicked
number 1.
Part 2 is going to be maybe not on your list.
Might not be on my list. That was of this list and just of all movies coming out next year, it's my most anticipated. I think I have I'm so excited to see what that movie looks like.
And the stuff that they showed I like hate to be the person who's like, I was at Comic-Con. But the stuff that they showed at Comic-Con, I was ready to like jump out of my chair and go buy a ticket. It like was so excited.
That's great. 28 years later.
I'm not very excited for this.
Okay.
The trailer was phenomenal. The trailer was really good. Danny Boyle could be a little hit or miss for me. Alex Garland can be really miss for me. I love Ex Machina, but like most of the other things he's written and directed, I haven't seen Civil War, but like, man, I did not like Annihilation because it felt like a bad ripoff of Stalker. Anyways, not important. What slots do I have open right now?
So you've done 1, 3, 4, 6, and 9.
1, 3, 4, 6, and 9. I'll put this at 5.
5. I was anticipating like a 10.
Maybe 7.
7. Okay, yeah. You got
but the trailer was just really good.
It's a good looking
trailer.
So
if it's as good as the trailer, then it's high. But if it's like sort of where I'm expecting, then I want to put it at 7. So it's really difficult.
How about
I'll put it at 7.
Mission Impossible 8.
Put that shit at 10.
10.
Put it at 10.
It's low
The Last
for me
Reckoning or whatever. I don't know. These last the Macquarie run of these movies has been again hit or miss for me. And they all seem to kind of hinge on like the big stunt.
Yeah.
And I don't know what more Tom Cruise can do.
What
more can he do?
What director is Tom Cruise working with for like a 2026 movie? It's somebody really good. They've announced this because it's already been dated. It got me excited because it's like not a Top Gun or Mission Impossible movie. And it's
thank goodness.
What did you find it?
Give me 1 second. Oh yeah, Alejandro Inarritu.
Oh yeah. I'm excited to see what they do together.
I mean, because the last time Tom Cruise really worked with the director of that caliber, are we talking about Eyes Wide Shut?
Or Magnolia? I forget which one came out before, but yeah.
He's so good in both of those films.
Whatever. He's great at what he does. It's hard to take anything away from him running and jumping out of planes and whatever. But it's also he's got the chops, baby. When he just does acting stuff, it's also really nice. Okay, next we're in the home stretch. We got 3 movies left. Thunderbolts.
5.
5. Okay.
Because I have 8.
You have 2.
10.
You have 2 and 8 left. We have 2 left.
Shit.
So one of these is gonna be a 2. One of these is gonna be an 8 for you. Our 9th film in our list. Tron Ares.
Oh, great. That can go to 9 or whatever
great.
it is.
So then, John's number 2 anticipated movie of the year, Avatar: Fire and Ash.
Let's go! I'm ready to light my ash on fire.
Whoa!
I mean, maybe not number 2, but like that movie's going to be a spectacle. At least
it will.
I don't know.
And it will probably make more money than all the other movies we've listed because that's all that James Cameron knows how to do.
If I had some wiggle room here, that would probably land around number 5 or something like that. But whatever.
My list for those keeping track at home, I had Fantastic Four first. I have Thunderbolts 2. I am so jazzed for that. I've loved all the trailers. I have Sinners at 3. I have 28 Years Later at 4. That might be a little high, but I have Superman at 5. I have Captain America: Brave New World at 6, Jurassic World Rebirth at 7, Mission Impossible at 8, Tron Ares at 9, Avatar: Fire and Ash at 10. I struggled to get through 10 minutes of the last Avatar movie.
You gotta just like take more edibles than you think you're gonna need.
That's probably it. And I didn't see it in a theater, and I know that's where you're supposed to see it. Okay, the last thing I want to do here, it's a little game of either or.
By the way, leave your ranking.
Yes.
It not blind, obviously, but leave your ranking in the comments.
Or if you're playing along in the chat, I guess. Little game of either or. I'm going to present 2 things that maybe are comparable, maybe could be compared to each other, and you have to pick one.
Okay.
And that's just the one you're excited for, the one you think that will be better, whatever. But you only get to pick one of these. Either or.
Okay.
Either.
Peacemaker
Season 2.
Okay.
Or Wonder Man. Ooh, okay.
I'm a little tired of that brand of superhero.
Which brand?
The Peacemaker kind of like asshole, but still.
Yeah.
I'll watch it and I'm sure I'll really enjoy it because I think it's still gonna be fun. But Wonder Man, I think is gonna be more interesting. I really like Yahya Abdul-Mateen the second.
Ben Kingsley, killer.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that. How about Spider-Man Noir
Okay.
or Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Two different Spider-Man series. We're not 100% sure Spider-Man Noir will be coming out in 2025, though they were already shooting it several months ago, so we're kind of fingers crossed that it might come out this year.
I think Spider-Man Noir. There were some rumors that your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man had some production issues.
Okay.
I'm still very excited for that, but at the same time, Marvel Animation outside of X-Men 97 has not been great. So I'll take that.
Nicolas Cage in a mask and a trench coat.
Crazy. And Spider-Man Noir is so fun in that first
talking 1920s.
movie.
It's such a weird series.
And I'll take any Spider-Verse stuff that I can get.
Okay, this one. Andor Season 2 or
Don't do this to me, Zach.
Noah Hawley's Alien Earth.
Oh, that's interesting.
Noah Hawley, the guy who created Fargo and Legion on FX, is doing an Alien series for FX, I believe.
Yeah, he's been very good, and I think that'll be really interesting. I don't know about the whole like Earth component of that. So I think I'm more excited for Andor Season 2. Andor Season 1 was just so good. And now, like, the series that know they're going to end... Like,
tell a great story. What's gonna happen to Stellan Skarsgård?
I don't know, man.
So excited.
So I'm very excited for next season.
Okay, Last of Us Season 2 or Daredevil Born Again? Two big hitters in the spring.
I gotta go with The Last of Us Season 2.
Ooh.
For similar reasons as kind of what I talked about for the Spider-Man stuff, which is like Daredevil is very, very highly anticipated and all that kind of stuff. It did go through a full retool, and they changed everything. They brought in new directors, all this kind of stuff, and all signs point to for the better. But there was a product that they didn't like, and they're trying to fix. And so for that reason. The Last of Us, man. And I loved The Last of Us Part 2. I know there's people online who didn't like it, but I'm very excited for that show.
Okay. And then our final either or, the one everybody's been waiting for. Snow White live action or How to Train Your Dragon live action.
Oh, no. I famously hate How to Train Your Dragon.
Famously? People online can't stop talking about how much John hates it.
It's a movie about a group of people who fear and hate dragons, and then they have to learn to accept dragons, and then the villain at the end of the movie is a dragon that they have to like kill or whatever. I don't remember. It's been like 12 years.
Sounds right.
Movie. How is the theme of the movie? Hey, dragons are good guys, and then the villain is a dragon. Doesn't work for me.
Apparently, you didn't learn. John didn't
Snow White
learn.
Live action does not look good.
How to Train Your Dragon.
I didn't.
You didn't learn.
Can I pick neither?
No, it's an either or. It's not a neither nor.
I will pick Snow White simply because I think it will be funnier to watch.
Yeah, maybe better songs. Who knows? Okay, there you have it, folks. Either or. Throw away your choices might be in the chat, in the comments, whatever. I would probably go.
Yeah, it's here.
I'd probably go very similar to John. Maybe my only difference is I'd probably go Daredevil over Last of Us Season 2. I really liked Last of Us Season 1. I'm looking forward to both of those, but I might be a little bit more excited about Daredevil.
Really tight. I think that's the tightest.
Yeah, but otherwise, I think we're probably pretty aligned. But I'm hopeful all of these things are great. And I might go Friendly Neighborhood over Spider-Man Noir. We'll see.
Interesting.
We'll see. Okay. Thank you all so much for watching. Yeah. We're back up at full speed, hopefully on Monday.
Absolutely.
You'll see more familiar faces back on the channel as we kind of attempt to get back to our normal output pace. Then, of course, stick around. We'll be covering Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man on the channel. We'll be covering the finale of Skeleton Crew.
That's right, yeah.
On the channel here, and all the great stuff that we talked about here. It'll be on the Breakroom, baby.
And let us know in the comments if we haven't covered something and you want us to talk about.
Yes.
We're here for you.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Great. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you next time.
Bye.